What's going on, guys? It's PokePond back with another video for you. We got lots to talk about today. We've got crazy things going on in the modern sealed market. We're also gonna, as always, have a look at all the price changes on sealed product across all of Sword and Shield, make our recommendations on what we would buy. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe down below to never miss an opportunity. Let's get into it. Okay, so before we jump into our price analysis that we always do, we're going to have a little reminder that the next set coming out, Journey Together, is coming out on the 28th of March. So I would keep an eye out for pre-orders. I think that the set's okay. I feel like it's a bit middle of the road, like it could go either way. I think it could be quite well received by the community, but it's a case of like, watch and wait for me. I'm not going to rush in to buy a load of it, but if I can see a pre-order that's up and it's below retail price, I think it's a good buy. I don't think you're going to do bad if you manage to pick this up for below retail, so I'm keeping an eye out for it. The official release is just under 6 weeks away, so yeah, just keeping an eye on all the sources online, all the usual websites that I buy from, just to see if there's any like cheap deals going, maybe some cheap pre-orders, maybe they've like got a lot more allocation than they expected, so they're trying to get some cash flow in, that kind of thing. You can quite often pick up deals on this product, so just going to keep an eye out for it over the next couple of weeks. Let's have a look at what's in stock then. If you're new to the channel, we have a look at both the US and the UK markets. We try and compare them, make some comparisons. Sometimes one sort of leads into the other. Something will go out of stock in EU, the price will jump up, and then you can kind of predict that that's what's going to happen next on the US markets. 9 times out of 10 it does come true. If you want to take my advice, then great. It's not financial advice, it's just my analysis of what's going on in the market and where I would personally put my money if I was going to buy a product looking to keep it sealed for a little while. I always say to people as well, don't invest anything that you can't afford to lose. It is all shiny cardboard at the end of the day, but if we go on past performance, generally these things do go up over time, especially when you're very selective and you put a little bit of analysis into the market to help sway your decision into something that's potentially going to do a little bit better for the long term. And that's what this channel is all about. I'm all about pointing out the deals for you guys, and we can have a discussion as well. If you think a set's going to be doing much better, comment down below. You know, this is a community thing. We're all here to help each other. So we're going to have a quick look at US Pokemon Center and see what's in stock. Now, this is kind of crazy that there's just like one booster box in stock for retail in the US right now, which is Temporal Forces. And I find it really interesting that Temporal Forces is the only thing that's in stock on the Pokemon Center, because I don't think Temporal Forces is a bad set at all. Quite often with Pokemon Center, you're left with perhaps less desirable sets left in stock just because they're not bought up as frequently. I think Temporal Forces is a bit of a sleeper set, and I think that it's going to do really well long term. So Temporal Forces for retail is quite interesting that that's the only thing in stock, but if we look at like the wider stock and not just the booster boxes, I've got this filtered for just what's in stock, and you can see there's only 12 items in stock. We've got a Brilliant Stars build and battle box, which is like the little pre-release kits that come out, a few triple blisters of ultra modern, so we've got Scarlet and Violet base, some Paradox Rift, again more base, a few more triple blisters, some single packs of Temporal Forces. So I would presume they're just still got some back stock in their warehouses from when they did their last print run of Temporal Forces, and then some binders, and that's it. And this is what the announcement a few weeks ago was all about. You know, they said that they're going to start trying to print more to demand and stuff like that. It wasn't necessarily focused around Prismatic Evolutions. I think a lot of people in the hobby took that announcement of they're going to print Prismatic Evolutions completely to demand, and they're going to print it into the ground until everyone's happy and everyone's bought it for retail. I don't think that's what that meant. What they're talking about is the wider thing. Like, yes, there's a new set that came out. People found it difficult to buy it for retail price because everyone was jumping into it. And just look at the state of the stock that's available. 12 items. across the entire US Pokemon Center, 3 of which are just binder collections. So really, if we discount those, we're talking about 9 real sort of sealed products available, and none of the newest sets available. And this is what Pokemon was talking about. I really don't think that even if they print a load of prismatic evolutions, I still don't think that they'll meet the demand. Yes, prices might drop a little bit from their crazy inflated price right now, but they'll just get bought out quicker than they can print it. And I think Temporal Forces is going to do well long term. But we'll get into that a little bit later. The UK market is almost exactly the same. We've got 2 booster boxes in stock though. We've still got some Paradox Rift and some Temporal Forces. In my eyes, I think Temporal Forces is one of the least printed sets of Ultra Modern. So that's why I think it's interesting that it's still in stock. Paradox Rift, it seemed to me that Paradox Rift, there was just a lot more of it around than Temporal Forces, especially on release. So something to bear in mind. We also have some of the weird, like, milk crates, as I call them. They look like the American, like, milk carton things. That's what I was looking for, the cartons. Some of these are, like, quite old as well now. I remember this Iono carton coming out quite a long time ago. Just interesting that they're in stock. And then we've actually got some booster bundles in stock too. The booster bundles are not a bad play, guys. If you're maybe new to buying sealed product and you want to sit on it for a little while, booster bundles are a cheap way to get in, and they're very pack to cost effective. So yeah, really good product. They're very liquid as well. You can sell them quite easily further down the line if you want to, and you can get stock in some pretty decent sets. We've got Paradox Rift, Temporal Forces, Shrouded Fable, and Stellar Crown as well. I think Stellar Crown and Temporal Forces are probably the better of the two for long-term potential. I particularly like Stellar Crown. I think it's a really undervalued set, but I also think Temporal Forces is really good too. Anyway, let's do a bit more analysis on sealed product now that we've had a look at how much stock or how little stock is available in the 2 Pokemon centers from different sides of the world. As always, every week we're going to really focus on Sword and Shield sealed product because that's out of print window now, and that's when you really start seeing these run-ups in price. And we always start with the big boy to see what's going on because he just leads the market. It is the one and only Evolving Skies. Things have cooled off a little bit over the last couple of weeks, but really hasn't dropped that much. I mean, we've had an all-time high of an average of around, what, 1377 before tax, and then now last sales are 1298, so 1275 as well. So at the most, it's dropped like 10% off of its all-time high, but it's still up 52% over the last 3 months. And if we do like zoom out to a year, it's up 146%. It's crazy. I don't think Evolving Skies is going anywhere. I think it's just going to continue to have a massive bull run and really start to see some gains up in price over the rest of this year. I think 2025 is going to be the year for Evolving Skies, and it's just going to destroy the market. I mean, let's have a look realistically at price now. So $1,300, where do we see it at the end of 2025? I mean, I would almost definitely think that it's going to be over 2k a box. I don't think it's going to take long to get there. It just depends how quickly it gets there. If it gets to 2k a box in the next 3 months, then by December this year, I think it could reach 3,000. If it takes a little bit longer to around about the summer to late summer to reach up to around about 2,000 US dollars, then I would say that the peak is probably going to be at around 2,200 to 2,500 for this year. But we'll just have to wait and see, and we'll track it every week. That's why you subscribe down below, because we do all of the market tracking so that you don't have to, so that you never miss an opportunity. Let's have a look at last sales then. Last sales in the US, 1275 is still healthy, guys. Even though it's dropped like 10% from the peak, 1275 is still a very healthy price for Evolving Skies. And then if we look down to the next sold, yeah, look, next sold yesterday, buy it now, $1,500. $1,500 is almost up there as like the highest I've ever seen it sell for. So $1,500, super healthy. Evolving Skies isn't crashing. It's just chilling for a little bit, chilling for a couple of weeks, which is actually really healthy for it for the long term. In the UK right now, we're just hovering at around about 1,000 a box. We saw peaks of around 1,200, 1,300 a box for a couple of weeks, a few weeks ago, and now it's just dipped back down, consolidated back down a little bit to around about that $1,000 mark. £1,000 mark. Last sold 1,050. That was yesterday. Another one 950 on an auction, 940. You got to remember, right? 6 months ago, I was selling Evolving Skies for like 600 a box, and now it's like regularly over 1,000 a box. So it's not going anywhere. Don't worry about it. Fusion Strike, very similar. It's just cooling off a little bit of price consolidation. I personally back Fusion Strike. I think Fusion Strike is the second best set after Evolving Skies in all of Sword and Shield. Unpopular opinion maybe, but I think most people would put it in their top 4, maybe even top 3. I put it Evolving Skies, Fusion Strike, then Lost Origin. Some people would put Lost Origin as second. I just really like the Gengar, and I really like the Espeon that's sleeping on the house. Some people call it the Sleepyon. I love that name for it. I just love Pokemon cards where they're sleeping. I love the Charizard artwork from the Charizard Ultra Premium Collection, where he's just like sleeping and chilling, and he's like burnt down a forest behind him. One of my favourite all-time cards. I've got it in a single underneath this desk, but I'm not going to pull it out because it's a bit of a hassle to pull out. But yeah, one of my favourite cards. And actually, if you're looking at singles, I think those Charizard UPC cards, those promo cards, could do really well long term. But I'm not going to make recommendations on things to buy for singles because my expertise is more around the sealed thing, and that's where I feel comfortable making recommendations, because my recommendations 9 times out of 10 come true. Obviously it could all go to zero. It is all shiny cardboard, as I have said before. Yeah, Fusion Strike, it just looks cheap to me at the moment. I know it's around 450 a box. I know it's up how much in a year. I mean, that chart's wrong. That chart's definitely wrong, that percentage. But yeah, it's gone from, in the last 3 months, it's gone from 230 a box to now we're at like nearly 450. It peaked at around 487. I just think Fusion Strike's an amazing set. I actually bought some more Fusion Strike sealed this week as well, so I'm practicing what I preach as well, which I find hard to do sometimes. You know, sometimes I make recommendations on stuff, and then like I track the market every week, and then I see it go up massively, and then I'm like, oh, why didn't I buy it? I literally did an analysis and recommended other people buy it, and then it's gone up. But last few weeks I've actually been buying loads of singles and slabs, and this week was the first week in about 3 weeks I stopped buying singles and slabs, and I'm just focusing on sealed again. I kind of go in waves. It's important to not lose sight in this hobby that you don't have to buy every week, okay? If you've got the budget to and you want to, great, that's fine. But especially if you're new to this as well, don't feel like you have to buy into every set or make every play. Do you know what I mean? Just like make 1 or 2 plays, be comfortable with it, sit on it for a while. Time is your friend. Time in the market beats timing the market. You don't have to go crazy, and it's really easy to get into that mindset that you want to buy this, buy that, and it gets addictive, and sometimes you overspend, you spend money that maybe that you regret later. We call that buyer's remorse. Just be careful, know your limits, and just do what you're comfortable doing. Like I said, I cooled off a little bit because I've been buying sealed for, I don't know, the last 7-8 years, just like buy, and it was really nice to just like do something different, buy some singles, buy some slabs, more as like a collection thing rather than sealed, that can sometimes for me be a bit more about maximizing gains over the long term. So it was nice to pick up some collection pieces, but I'm back to buying sealed this week. I've been buying some Fusion. I've been buying some 151 Elite Trainer boxes. I'm looking at some Crown Zenith as well. Crown Zenith is starting to shoot up in price again. Let's have a look at last sale, son. $415 on Fusion. Like I said, you look at these charts, you're like, oh no, Fusion is starting to dip. It's really not. Look, Fusion Strike, $415. Really healthy for the set, last sold in the US. In the UK, £290. That just looks cheap to me. I think anything sub 300 a box now is a really good deal for UK Fusion Strike sealed. And let's have a look at the cards. Gengar is still super healthy. The Gengar in a PSA 10 alt art from Fusion Strike, the main chase card, $1,500 last sold yesterday on eBay. In the UK, not in the UK, sorry, in the US, the Sleepyon as well is actually doing really well as well. Like nearly $600 last sold, $595, $591. There's $616 on an auction with an import from Canada. $550, $645. That's what I mean. It's not just one chase card. It's two chase cards that are like doing really well, and then the box is like $415. It just seems cheap to me. I don't see a world where Fusion Strike doesn't have a good 2025. Right, let's move on. Lost Origin, again, Lost Origin, put it in my top 3. Some people put it in their top 2. It's just cooled off in price a little bit. It peaked at around start of January, 385, 387 average price. Last sold on TCG Player 350, 340. It's really nothing, guys. It's cooled off a tiny amount. Last 3 months, it's still up 43%. The Giratina's doing really well, still really healthy. $339 last sold booster box, sealed in the US for a nice minty looking one by the looks of it. I just think that's super cheap. $339, especially when Fusion Strike is nearly $100 more. I think that they should be more similar in price. I think that Fusion Strike is a bit undervalued right now. Lost Origin is a bit undervalued right now compared to Fusion Strike. I think Fusion Strike is undervalued too. I think both of them should be knocking on the door of $500 a box, and I do think we'll see that at least by the end of 2025, if not into the summer. You need to understand that Pokemon is just starting to boom again. Pokemon goes in cycles of like really high activity, all the... How do I word this without offending anyone? All the streamers and YouTube creators that aren't necessarily associated with Pokemon, that tend to just flood in when it's doing well and pack opening, you're starting to see more of them make Pokemon content. And that's usually a good guide as to when the market is starting to boom, because they're not stupid. They always stream about and make videos and content on whatever's trending and whatever's hot. And once they start making Pokemon content, maybe they start ripping older vintage boxes or start ripping prismatic evolutions, that's when you know the market is really starting to have an upward trend, and that pushes all of this sealed product up. We've been calling it for the last 12 months on the channel that the boom is coming. It's really started now, and we're starting to see this run up in price on everything. That's why you're seeing Prismatic Evolutions sell out really quickly, Blooming Waters sell out really quickly, people fighting for it. It attracts all the scalpers to the hobby as well. That's when you know you're at a boom time. It's not really the best time to buy products unless you're going to sit on them for a while, like stuff like this. Lost Origin, Fusion Strike, I think is still fine to buy at this price as long as you sit on it for at least a year, 2 years, etc. That's how you beat scalpers. So scalpers are all about trying to turn it quickly, turn it within 2 weeks, 1 week, 4 weeks. They don't have the patience to have their cash tied up in it for a long time because they don't care about Pokemon. They're just there for the quick gains, the quick money. Then they'll move on to the next thing. They'll go on to baseball cards or shoes, and it's just a constant cycle for them swapping around hobbies. Now Pokemon is booming now, or starting to boom. You haven't seen anything yet, believe me. 2025, mark my words, is going to be a huge year for Pokemon, and it's exciting for all of us that are in the hobby. Like, you guys also need to understand that if you're watching this video, you are in deep. I'm sorry to tell you, if you didn't realise already, you're in deep. There is no cure for the disease, but it's all about recognising that you're in deep. If you found my content, you're in deep, you're probably into your investing, you probably hold some sealed product. That's not a bad thing. And although there's more and more people making sealed content, sealed video content on YouTube, you need to understand we're such a tiny part of the market. We really are such a small amount. And some of the bigger Pokemon YouTubers look down on us, etc., and try and make out like we're bad people for buying and holding sealed product. But you need to understand that we don't affect the market at all. At all. We are such a small percent. We're way less than 1% of the market. We're probably less than 0.01% of the market are people who actually listen to this kind of content and buy sealed and sit on it. And if you're watching this content and you feel like I've just described to you, actually feel proud about it. Congratulations, you're ahead of the curve. You're pretty much ahead of the entire hobby on like understanding how things work, and you can do really well in the long term. That's all I'm going to say. I'm going to stop talking about other YouTubers looking down on us, because it really hits hard for me, because some of these people that I looked up to when I was, before I started making content, but I was still part of the hobby, to see them all now looking down on us and trying to act like they're better than us, I really don't like it. Pokemon should all be about positivity, and in reality, anyone that I've actually talked to in the hobby, never mind about these YouTube videos, blah blah blah, anyone that I've actually talked to via Instagram or real life in the hobby, we're all just cool, we're all just chill. No one cares if you're buying sealed and sitting on it, you know. It's its own side of the hobby, and don't feel bad about it. But if you're watching my content, you are in deep, so be careful with your finances. Last sold, Lost Origin, £325 in the UK. Just looks cheap. Looks super cheap to me. Astral Radiance, again, another one of these products that we've been saying for the last 12 months, looks incredibly underpriced, and it's really just starting to move. It's kind of had a bit of an average week like most of the market has. 233 average last week, last sold 225, 234. Like, honestly, the changes in price are so minimal that it's nothing. It's basically just sat at the same price. Now's the time that you can pick up some decent deals. Look at this, $199, less than $200 for a sealed Astral Radiance. I think it's a brilliant set. It's completely out of print now. I think it's highly, highly unlikely that it's going to be reprinted. So more and more of them are getting ripped every day as well. The singles prices, I think, will just continue to rise over the next 12 months. And yeah, that's just going to push the sealed price up and up and up. And again, Astral Radiance, come on, we're talking about sealed Sword and Shield sets, decent set, sub 200, out of print. It's a no-brainer for me. In the UK, similar story, £175. That's not much over retail, guys, and it's been out of print for a decent amount of time now. Right, let's break things up a little bit. Let's have a quick little look at modern Scarlet and Violet. We've got to track Surgeon Sparks just because it's doing crazy things at the moment. Surgeon Sparks, it's such a risky play to buy into it for this price. The only people realistically who are buying into sealed Surgeon Sparks for this price point, $250, are either A, people who are FOMOing into it, so they're buying it to keep it sealed in their collection, which is a very small amount of people, I think. Number two, collectors that want to rip it and finish off their sets and master sets, which I think is a larger portion of them. And then number three, the third demographic of people buying this, which I think actually makes up the majority of these sales, are people who are running rip and ship streams on the various platforms. I'm not going to say their names. I think most of these sales and what's pushing up the price is people who are ripping and shipping. So they're buying it and it doesn't matter what cost they buy it for, because they just factor in that cost, put on their platform fees for wherever they're selling it, put that in, bake that into the pack cost, and then they'll sell Surgeon Sparks Rip and Ship packs on their stream for, I don't know, $8, $9, $10. It doesn't matter to them. They're still going to make money, and that's what's driving up the price on these. There's not enough product, and there's too much demand because, like I said, the Rip and Ship people, it doesn't matter what they buy it for because they're still going to make money. So they're just constantly outbidding each other and just driving the price up and up and up artificially. And you really need to be careful about buying into Scarlet and Violet sets that are way over retail because they're still in print window. Pokemon could turn around tomorrow and just drop a massive wave of Surgeon Sparks. I think it's unlikely, like waves are coming, but they could just print it into the ground and they might not even tell you either. They might just drop it like a stone and then all of a sudden it's in every single store for retail. And then what happens to the price? You know, you bought in for $250 to try and keep it sealed and all of a sudden, oh, you know, you can go and pick it up in big box stores, every single one for $160. Like, it can happen. I've seen it happen with other sets. Be very careful. Prismatic Evolutions, similar, but I don't think you need to worry as much for a few reasons. One, it's not a mainline set, so you don't have booster boxes. That already puts scarcity out in the market. Number two, Elite Trainer boxes are a lot harder for them to reprint than booster boxes because you have all the extras that are inside it. When the booster bundles come out, I expect that reprints will come in waves, mainly around the booster bundles. So the Elite Trainer boxes may still hold a little bit of a premium. They're starting to go up again already as well. Look, they peaked at like 150, then they dropped down to about 109. Now they're starting to go up to around about 120. Look at this, 124, 114, 110, 110. It's interesting. I've got a couple behind me. I paid retail for them. I was very lucky. I got them on pre-order. Would I buy more Prismatic Evolutions now? Maybe. It's not necessarily a no. I'm always skeptical about paying over retail for ultra modern products. Like I said, they could get printed into the ground. But I really do think that Prismatic Evolutions is such a strong set that even if it got reprinted and the price dropped a bit, I still think you'll do well long term paying over retail now and holding on to it and being willing to just ride out any ups or downs for the next 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. I still think you're going to do really well out of it. Mainly because when have we ever seen an Elite Trainer box come out and do this kind of price? I can't think of any Elite Trainer box ever that's done this, that's come out and it's regularly trading for $130. It's never happened. It is a really strong set. Obviously, having Evolving Skies doing so well as well, I think really does help Prismatic Evolutions. I'm not saying that I won't buy more into it for over retail and the price it is now. I'm cautious, but it's not an immediate no for me. Surgeon Sparks for this price is just a no straight away. I know that it's going to get printed more. I know you'll be able to get it cheaper soon. Prismatic Evolutions though, I'm tempted. I'm tempted to buy more for way over retail because I do think that they can't print enough for demand, especially where it's in the Elite Trainer box. Let's have a look at last sales then. Last sales, look at this. 107, $104, $102. Look at this, on an auction, $122. When have we ever seen an Elite Trainer box do this on release? It's a really strong sign for the market. It's already getting that perceived value behind it. And that's what really carries sets into the long term as doing well. Is how much of an impact it had at the time when it was released. And to be honest, I've never really seen a set have this much impact when it came out. Evolving Skies was difficult to get for retail on release. It really was. But I tell you what, with Evolving Skies, the Elite Trainer boxes weren't going for $122 on release. No way. You might pay, even on the booster box. Okay, so yeah, Evolving Skies had the booster box, but I remember on release, or even like a few weeks after release, you could get Evolving Skies for like 15% over retail, 20% over retail, and buy as much as you wanted for that. Okay? We're so far over retail at this point. I mean, what does it retail for in the US? Like $60, something like that? So we're like 100% over retail right now. It's interesting. Keep an eye on Prismatic Evolutions. It's not a bad play. I mean, $100 is a lot, but I really do think they won't be able to print it to demand. It might do fine long term. I'm going to sit back and watch a little bit. We'll see. I haven't made my mind up whether I'm going to buy in at this price point or not. Obviously, where I got a couple for retail, I was super happy. I'm going to wait and see what the booster bundles do first. Because obviously, if you can pick up booster bundles for retail, then you're winning. But I don't think you're going to be able to get them that easily. I think they're going to sell out quickly on pre-orders, the booster bundles. And I just think you're going to really struggle to find them anywhere. And I'm not just talking about the release of booster bundles, I'm talking about the waves of them, because they're going to continue to keep printing those booster bundles and probably some of the Elite Trainer boxes for the next 2 years. Prismatic Evolutions is a bit of a cash cow for Pokemon. They would be silly not to continue to print it over the next 2 years and bring out more products as well with it in. Perhaps some more like triple blisters and that kind of thing. I could see that happening. In the UK, it does look quite cheap, though. I mean, I know £75 is, like, over retail, and people are like, oh, that's a scalp price. Like, I paid £50 for mine each. So, what, we're £25 over, so we're 50% over retail at the moment. But I really do think that if you've got the patience and you buy in for, what, 72, 75, and you're happy to sit on it for a couple of years, because then you're not FOMO'd into it, you've got more of it, and like, yeah, if they print more, it will probably drop back down to 50, 60 a box, but it won't stay at that for long. It will bounce back quite quickly to around about the 72, 75 mark. So it's interesting. We'll keep an eye on it. I'm going to wait to see if the market gets flooded with booster bundles first. And then, yeah, we'll see what's going on. Chilling Reign, I'm not going to do a huge analysis on this. It's basically just chilling. Last week it was 328. This week it's like 300, 310. But then you've got ones for like 334 and 3 of them as well. And that's literally from, let's see, 2 days ago. From 2 days ago, it was basically at its all-time high. So it's just a bit of a swing in price. It's not that it's up, it's not that it's down. It's just there's a bit of a variance between buy and sell. Not bad. It's doing all right. Brilliant Stars, same thing. Basically a flat week. Last sale averages 285. Silver Tempest, the same. Not going to do a massive analysis. It's actually up a couple of price points. 229 on the average. Last sale 230, 244. These 3 sets, in fact, mainly these 2 sets, Brilliant Stars and Silver Tempest, great sets. Both have the alt art chases. Both look really cheap to me at the moment. Yeah, they're cooling off in price. They haven't really moved up this week. But again, I put them down as having a really good 2025. They've got a lot of room to grow. I could see them potentially $400, $500 by the end of this year. I don't think that's unreasonable for them. Let's have a little look at 151 then. 151 is moving up in price. Like I said, I bought some 151 Elite Trainer boxes this week. They are yet to arrive yet, though. I've also been buying Fusion Strike sealed this week. And let's have a look. I'm a big believer that 151 is going to have a good year, mainly because it's getting up there in age. And I don't think they're going to print any more of it. Yeah, they're going to print potentially more like products like Blooming Waters and collection boxes and stuff like that. I really don't think they're going to print more 151 Elite Trainer boxes. Potentially they could do a small wave of them. I think it's unlikely, but even if they did, I think they'll just get snapped up so quickly that the price will just bounce straight back up to this. And look at this, it's really starting to climb up in price. In the last 3 months, it's up 80%. I think this is your last chance to buy into 151 Elite Trainer boxes. Look at this. Last sold 4 of them as well. $192, $182, $175. It's really starting to move. I think it's going to have a good year. Look at last sold, the Pokemon Center exclusive version, $375 on auction for the normal version, $171 on auction, $165 on a buy it now. Import from Canada though, so not domestic. $160 domestic. When I say domestic, I mean like within the same country, so US to US. Sold yesterday for $160. That's quite a good deal considering, you know, there's one here selling for $171 and on auction. I think it's really going to start moving, and it's not going to take much for more and more people to realize this, FOMO into it, and then before you know it, it's 200 a box, then it's 220, then it's 250. I really do think that there's a lot of room for 151 to grow. It's looking at a good price point. Same in the UK right here. This is why I've been buying it. Look at this, 132, 137 pounds with including postage. I think that's pretty cheap. I think we're going to see $250 slash £200 by the end of 2025. Those are my predictions. Let's see if they come true. Comment down below what you think 151 is going to do. Is it going to have a good 2025? Or which of these sets do you think is going to have the best year going forward? I do think that Lost Origin has got so much room to grow. I'm back in Lost Origin, Fusion Strike, 151, Crown Zenith. I think they're all going to blow, to be honest. But we'll just have to wait and see. Make sure you subscribe down below to never miss an opportunity. Have yourselves a wonderful day, and peace.